right way through the door. I think I agree with you, Andy. You look at the team when he took.
How you doing, YouTube? Just waiting for the news to come on. I'm just waiting to hear what they're saying in the news. I think it's past the news starts, so I'm going to wait for what they're going to say. This fucking traffic's a nightmare, man.
I'll show you. Oh, he's calloused. They are.
Alright, people. YouTube. Whoever's there, stuck in traffic right now, fucking nightmare. Oh God. Story of my life, guys, stuck in traffic. Fucking done something to my arm today. It's fucking killing me. Might even go as far as a fracture. I find it even hard to drive right now. Will you see my sunset? Nice, eh? Just waiting for the news, people. See what bullshit they're going to come out with new. On my way home. See what crap they're going to justify for the high prices of fuel and power and food. I should have went the other way. What's everybody been up to? I think it's all been working like me, working hard. Just on your way homes, checking my stream it. I know yous are.
Huge huge pothole. Robert hit the hole,
didn't
went
though?
over the handlebars and ended up in the water. Needless to say, the bike was not in a good state, and nor was Robert, who was cold and wet, miles from home,
Where's the
covered
nurse?
in cuts and bruises. Mike, or Mark, stopped, put the broken bike in the back of...
Shut up.
War is always a possibility for humans, but it's not an inevitability.
Tell me this, I mean, war, not inevitable, but it feels as though there's a clash of values at play here between what one might call the strongman view of how society should be run, with a kind of toxic masculinity. It's all about order and control, maybe ethno-nationalism in there.
Toxic masculinity,
liberal,
what the
live
fuck
and
are
love
they
as
talking
you
about?
please set of values. Now, is that division of values very innate to the human experience? Is that something that repeats itself throughout history?
To some extent, yes, but I would be careful about how we portray things like nationalism and liberalism in this context. In the West, in recent years, there has been a culture war that seemed to pit liberalism against nationalism. And I think this was a complete mistake. And I think this war is actually an opportunity to understand something that people knew before, like in the 19th century, that liberalism and nationalism are not opposites. In Ukraine, what you
They're the
see
same
right
fucking
now
thing.
is liberalism and nationalism meshing together. They want to protect their democracy. They want to protect their liberal values.
What about communism? Communism and socialism is seen as left wing. Like for an example, communism is seen as left wing, and but communism can also be seen as nationalism, because communists love the country. They love the hame and the whole idea that the government love the government. So you could say that communism was left wing nationalism to a certain degree.
It's an opportunity to make peace in the culture war that has been tearing apart Western society. It's an opportunity for left and right to understand that actually there isn't such a big distance between them.
Sometimes things happen in human history that are turning points. Does this feel to you like one of those pivot points?
This could be a point when the era of peace will be over and we enter a new era of war. This could be a point when we lose our chance of dealing with global problems like climate change or like with the rise of artificial intelligence, because all attention is diverted. The shockwaves.
The rise of artificial intelligence. Oh my fucking god! Is this one of these fear-mongering Terminator guys?
A hippie fantasy. Again, just a few percentage points going to defense. So I really hope that we can still stop this war. We can still.
There's not going to be a war. Shut the fuck up.
Descent into
Right up, Yuval Noah. Now it's 24 minutes to 6. We're running a little bit late. This is PM. We'll have a summary of the news from Chris Aldridge.
Ukraine says Russia has attacked the main television tower in the capital, Kiev, knocking out some broadcasts and killing 5 people. The Russian Defense Ministry had warned residents of the city that it was preparing to hit targets linked to intelligence and communications and urged civilians to move away from relay masts. Ukrainian officials have said the invading forces are trying to encircle the city. A long convoy of Russian tanks and other military vehicles is still approaching Kiev.
Approaching?
Former national security...
Still approaching Kiev, but they're not there yet. It must be the slowest tanks in the world, man.
And all these hundreds of tanks that are moving now towards Kiev, a lot of it will be destroyed by our defense forces, and Russia will pay a very heavy price.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russian attacks on his country's second city, Kharkiv, are a war crime. Officials say at least 18 people were killed in 2 Russian strikes on a local government building and a block of flats. Mr. Zelensky received a standing ovation when he addressed the European Parliament via video link today, saying Ukraine was fighting for its survival and freedom. Moscow has denied carrying out any attacks on civilians in Ukraine. International diplomats walked out of a United Nations session in protest when it was addressed by the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Boris Johnson has again ruled out British troops getting involved in fighting in Ukraine and rejected the idea of NATO enforcing a no-fly.
Because there's fuck all happening there. You can't enforce something when nothing's happening, you fucking donuts. Jesus.
He said that was a very, very huge step. The UK has further relaxed its visa rules affecting Ukrainians wanting to come here.
Oh,
The scheme will now
just
include
come into
parents,
Britain.
grandparents,
Come
children
to
over
Britain.
18 and siblings of any Ukrainian citizen already
Come to
settled
Britain,
here.
we'll look after you, even though there's fucking
Last hour,
in Ukraine that could help them out. And the UK, oh, we'll let them in.
with Russia's largest mobile operator, MTS.
Thank you, Chris. Now, before we think about some of the strategic questions facing the West as this war proceeds, let us just remember what it's like for those living through it. Kharkiv is the city that has been suffering the
Kharkiv.
most. Gennady and Larissa have been speaking to our colleagues at the BBC World Service. First, Stanislav, though, who spoke to us and describes how he and his family have been going to the air raid shelters 5 times a day.
It's not comfortable, it's cold and wet, so
If it's not comfortable, why are you going 5 times a day? You know what I mean?
I have to
5 times a day.
on the floor near the exit of this apartment.
Do you eat?
And when we hear signals, this air raid, we have to go down to the shelter.
Bullshit.
Today it was a missile attack in the center of Kharkiv, Freedom Square. 6 people were killed. It's a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
After 4 days of heavy fighting
Sure it is.
and huge, enormous losses, they resorted to this horrendous tactic of just indiscriminately shelling residential areas. This is what is happening right now.
There is a place where all the people go to donate money or things for the army. There is a shelter and the bomb
Bullshit!
exploded right next to it. We have to get food, and these missiles, they can land anywhere.
Fake
so of
accent.
course we were afraid that they can send it on this supermarket or
Shite.
our outside yard near the place where we live. Of course everybody is afraid of.
Larissa, Gennady, thereafter. Peace or escalation? Is the objective to give Putin an off-ramp or to see him in The Hague? I'm joined by Lord Richards, David Richards, formerly the Chief of the Defence Staff, the head of the British Armed Forces. David, thanks so much for joining us. Can we just look at it from the Russian point of view to start with? Is this brutality now their strategy, do you think? They found they've got more resistance, it's not easy, and so you send missiles into the city and wait till everybody is absolutely desperate before you move in?
I think tactically that's probably what the Ukrainians' very brave resistance is sadly going to force his military commanders to do to meet the objectives President Putin has laid on them. So I'm afraid I anticipate, as no doubt, you don't have to be a great military brain to work this out, as no doubt most of your listeners also do.
What does Russia need to do if it is serious about occupying the country? I mean, it's created a new unity among Ukrainians, it seems, absolutely convinced they don't want anything to do with Russia now. It would take an enormous force, wouldn't it, bigger than Russia is deploying, to properly occupy that country and run it, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, but I think if we could just stand back a little bit and ask what are the West's strategic aims? What's the end state you said in your introduction?
Well, I was going to come to it, yeah. Okay, let's move on to that. I'm forcing you to give the Russians advice, which I know you wouldn't know.
You're forcing him to give
let's look at...
He's forcing him to give Russians advice. You know what I mean? What a fucking pile of cack, man. What a pile of fucking propaganda and crap. Honest to God, what a lot of shite.
Otherwise, why are casualties a huge cost? Why is that? How is that justified? And so I think at the moment the West seems to be of a view that the Ukrainians are going to win and that Russia is going to withdraw. I think this is very doubtful. Therefore, one must question what is the end state in the Western capital's view, and are we actually furnishing the Ukrainians with the necessary wherewithal to achieve that? Because, and here's the rub, if we are not confident we are going to win, we are committing, I think, hundreds of thousands potentially of Ukrainians to a miserable life and possibly a lot of deaths. That's fine if you're going to win, arguably, but if you're not, it's not very wise, and arguably it's almost immoral. And I'd like to see a debate around that. Is this worth all the casualties that we will be almost inevitably incurring if we go on as we are?
I want to understand what you're saying very clearly. So in a way, it sounds like you're saying you either fight with Ukraine and help them win, or let them do it if you think they can win it on their own. But I don't think many people think they can do it on your own. Or it is better if the Russians are going to win, that they do it quickly and painlessly rather than meeting a lot of resistance and a lot of death and causing a lot of death in the process of getting it.
I think that is the nub of what I believe. It's very unpalatable, but
yes,
yeah, and you and I have talked many times.
It's very unpalatable.
And any soldier that's seen it will know that it really is a last resort. But it's okay, arguably, if the objectives are noble and you think you're going to win. But if we put the Ukrainians into this position and pour weapons and other support in there, but don't guarantee that as a result of all that effort they can win, one has to ask oneself whether it is worth it. And we should then, going back again to your introduction, look for off-ramps that give both sides a chance to negotiate, from a sense of what really is like to happen, as opposed to perhaps some wishful thinking.
Well, I think it's very interesting what you're saying. No one's going to doubt that the aims, I think, are noble on the Ukrainian side. No one would doubt either that the Ukrainians want as much help as we will give them. But is there something else we can do for Ukraine, though? So to if you like, to stack the odds in their favour that make it possible that they could win. We've obviously ruled out taking on sending an aircraft of our own into there.
Yeah, I think we can't do much more but continue to pour in the right sort of weapons. We're not even sending trainers. So, at a very low level, I'm worried that some of this kit will not be used effectively because we can't send in NATO trainers to make sure they know how to use it properly. So there's all that possible confusion. But even if you assume all that works, are we confident at the end of the day that the Ukrainians will win? I mean, my admiration for their courage knows no limits, believe me, and I hope very much that they will. But my soldierly instincts and knowledge suggests that at the end of the day, the Russians will win. And in the meanwhile, is all that sacrifice going to have been worth it? Is there another route? And that's what I think our political leaders now need to, in a very grown-up and regrettable way, need to start asking, what's the strategic end state? Where is this all going to end?
I think it's going to take a very brave Western politician, given where we've been in the last week.
Right, guys, like I said 3 weeks ago, there ain't going to be a World War III. There's maybe going to be little proxy wars, little missiles fired back and forth, little groups of armed resistance doing whatever they do. But at the end of the day, the real victims are going to be us. For years to come, we're going to pay through our noses and through our teeth for fuel, for food, to warm our houses. And fair enough, maybe some of us will manage to get through of it. What about the poor people? What about the poor people with all this shit? So to me, I'm not worried about any wars, any world wars anyway. And these wars over in Ukraine is nothing to do with me. It's fucking hundreds of thousands of miles away. I don't give a shit. Just like I don't give a shit about Iraq or Afghanistan, because I knew it was just about the oil. And just same with Ukraine, I know it's just about the gas that's going through Germany. So at the end of the day, there's nothing to worry about. There's no World War III. Even my son's worried about it. My mother-in-law's worried about World War III. People are worried. People are listening to this bullshit that's coming out of the media. I'm sick of having to reassure people that it's just a fucking psyop, unfortunately.
Is the tactical use of nuclear weapons.
The tactical use of nuclear weapons. Fucking dickhead.
Self-evidently should. I'm not saying he will do so because it could lead to Armageddon, and he knows that, and he clearly isn't as rational as we'd all hoped. But nevertheless, one would hope that he wouldn't go that far. But a desperate man who otherwise faces disaster might well do so. And certainly in the meanwhile, he's going to use every other type of weapon that his forces have got. And that goes back to my point about the huge casualties we should yet expect.
Very sobering. Thank you for joining us, Lord Richards, David Richards, former Chief of the Defence Staff. Coming up to 10 to 6. Let's just have a last look at the headlines. Chris.
The Ukrainian government says 5 people have been killed in Kiev in a Russian attack on the main television tower.
The Ukrainian government said. There's no fucking evidence for it.
Officials say at least 18 people were killed in 2 Russian attacks on a local government building and a block of flats. Athletes from Russia and Belarus have been banned indefinitely from taking part in all competitions.
Thanks, Chris. Now, it is very upsetting when your country does something of which you are ashamed. If you're patriotic, you either support your country, persuading yourself that wrong is right, or you feel the pain of wishing your own country harm because it is wrong. For Russians in the UK right now, this cognitive dissonance is very...
Due to the political circumstances, now I'm based in London and I'm raising my kids there.
I'm Anastasia. I'm originally from Moscow. I'm a photographer and I moved here in 2011. I got married to a British citizen, but when we separated, I decided to stay here due to political circumstances. So now I'm getting MA in contemporary photography in University of London.
What have you been thinking over the last few days as you have watched what is going on in Ukraine? Tonya, you start.
At every point, I was thinking it couldn't have happened, but that yet on every step we saw the escalation and everything else. And I was thinking that during the last 20 years, I had friends whom I regarded in Russia, in Russian politics.
Fucking actors. These are fucking actors. Listen to them. Even the accent's shite. I wish I was a Ukrainian so I could tell the fucking fake accent. Because we're no Ukrainians, we can't really tell, can we? You know what I mean? What a fucking baggy shit that is.
Now I'm thinking that we had every chance to stop him. And we didn't use this chance because we were overthinking the situation. We were trying to be unbiased as journalists. We were trying to be balanced as political activists. And it was a mistake. And I'm deeply ashamed by myself that I didn't do enough to stop this man and to stop basically nuclear war, because now we are at the edge of the nuclear war.
Anastasia, what are your feelings about what we've just seen?
We're at the edge of the nuclear war.
I felt sick
Fuck
to the core.
off.
I could sense it's going to
could
bad,
sense.
but I didn't.
I could put on a better accent than that crap. I feel so guilty that I never stopped this man from nuclear war. Fuck off. Go back to your fucking own country. We are shite. Spreading fucking propaganda in my fucking country. You fucking creeps. Fuck off. Scaring my kids. Scaring my family. We are shite. You're feeling guilty. Fuck you. Once we find out it's all been faked, you'll all fucking be chucked on a fucking boat and sent back. You fuckers. Lying your way into the country. Lying your way into the country.
It is mentally painful, isn't it?
Mentally painful? It's mentally painful because pain is a mental thing. When someone says something bad to you, it's painful, it hurts in your brain. Mentally painful. Fucking shite. What a lot of horse shite.
I just realized that my son is referring to NATO, to NATO as we, and he thinks that we, NATO, should stop them Russian military invasion. And and
So
Russian
now they're
military,
using their
and I
kids,
was
their son.
surprised to find myself, and I must say I'm a patriotic person. I love Russia, and I was during all my life trying to do everything so that my country would survive, become
What a lot of
democratic, so
shit
people would
that
be
is,
more
man.
happy and everything else. And now finding myself
Go and talk to
in a
some
situation
real
where
Ukrainians.
I really want someone to stop and to be in a war with my country and to stop the military initiatives launched by my country. That's sickening, that's frightening, but
Frightening,
that's actually
aye.
what
You're over
I
in our
want.
country, so why are you frightened?
Let me ask you.
You're here now. Why are you
You
frightened?
have family in Russia, maybe older relatives as well. We have very different memories of the last 40 years to those that you have. Anastasia, what conversations do you have, if you've had any, with people in Russia at the moment?
Situation I have at the moment is like my friends in Ukraine being bombed as we speak.
Boop.
My friends in Russia, some of them being arrested for speaking up. Other friends in Russia are being very silent, and I can't blame them. And there is my family, my mother in particular. She thinks I'm somewhere between complete idiot, being fooled by Western propaganda, or a traitor. And all the
Your mum is right.
Because
Listen
I
to
have
mama.
information not from
Listen to
news,
mama.
I have information from my friends. I have
How you doing, Jimmy?
videos and footage and horrible conversations, and I just try to basically pass it all to my family, my mother.
Fucking idiot
And
racing in the hill.
It doesn't work. She's just like, she's choosing to be completely insensitive to it, kind of blind, and it's I don't know.
Like me.
It's scary. It's scary.
Anastasia, that's horrible, and that's what we're going through now. And I have this conversation with my father, and he was in the army during the Afghanistan war, and now he doesn't believe that Kyiv is bombed because Russian propaganda says that no civic targets has been attacked. And if it was attacked, it was done by Ukrainian army, by NATO, by something, but so have chosen not to believe in it. And your friends are being bombed, right? Your friends are being in prison, and your family members, they don't believe in it. And so I try to educate myself more in Russian propaganda, and I try to educate myself more in like how this works.
Aye.
Why
are you educating yourself in
For
propaganda?
my father to tolerate the thought that his country is bombing Ukraine is so painful. So he tries to take every chance to use every possibility not to believe in it. Because I believe that if he would admit it, it will ruin him as a person. And I believe there is a sort of anger because you try to explain to your parents, like, look, this is what's happening.
Nah, you're not trying to explain anything to your parents. You're trying to fearmonger your parents, and your parents are turning around and going, "There's nothing happening here. There's no wars. There's no nukes." And she's like, "But Mom, there is. There's gonna be nukes. There's gonna be war. There's gonna be apocalypse." The fucking propaganda is so bad.
Convicted child sex offender on the run from British police. Here's Paul Kenyon with the details.
Is that a skull? Yep, that's a skull.
On 4 tracked down convicted British paedophile Daniel Erickson Hull on the run in Bulgaria. He'd been posing as a Christian missionary in a deprived Roma neighbourhood while abusing young boys. Now Fallon 4 has discovered that Erickson Hull is still at large, and the Metropolitan Police have failed to use their powers to stop him. We investigate flaws in the system.
Just give you a little taste of the shit that's coming through our news. What we're listening to, these fake fucking actors pretending to be Russians and Ukrainians. Oh my god. Try to scare us with nuclear war. They're coming over here, trying to give us the shit on our airwaves. Fuck off, you fucking psychedelic skull. Fuck off, you psychedelic skull. It's an air freshener. So let's let it smell though. Anyway guys, have a nice day. See you later.